Hello and welcome to this video, and this video is going to be called Argus. It's awful, isn't it? That's not what it's going to be called. That's a terrible title, but that's what I feel like saying. All right, Argus, bloody one of the classic albums. You know, I've just got this box set, right, but I never really listened to it, so I thought I'll give it a go. Stick it in the car, and I expect to come back here saying, yeah, this is an amazing album, I really enjoyed this, and do a big talk about it. That's what I've done. I've had the album in the car for a week. But I've got to be honest, put it on. I've had it on for about 2 or 3 days now. It's Astral Weeks all over again. I can't stand it. It's terrible. So probably... and I'm asking the question because I tell you with this one, especially after the Astral Weeks situation, I thought, I can't come in so confident, you know. Am I getting something wrong if I don't get it? It just sounds rubbish. It's terrible. I hate it. Argus is terrible. That's probably going to be the title. Now, if I'm going to have a thumbnail, because I don't want to do much work on this video, so I don't want to have to create a thumbnail. So I've got to try and put on my face, like, disgust, but questioning disgust. Have I got this right? Which would probably be like that. What was that like? Is Argus terrible? You tell me. I don't know. I got given this box set. I didn't buy it, obviously, thank God. And I thought I'd do one of the sort of now Spinning Magazine Phil Aston sort of unboxing to see how. I'd never done one before. The only one I've ever done is when I did a spoof of Phil Aston, and there I opened a light bulb. And I got to be honest, I would prefer to have a light bulb, which at least I could put into a light when it goes, it has some use, than my Argus box set. I've pulled this the vinyl out of the Argus box set. Now, if someone loves Argus, I'll put it out at the beginning of the video. If you come down to my studio to have a discussion about this, right? If you come down here and you got the guts, I'm not going to have a go. We will be all friendly, have a cup of tea, and we'll just have a normal chat about music. I'm not going to argue with you, I promise you. It'll just be nice. Just, you know, to shine a light on this album that I don't like. You know, I'm generous in that way. I will do that. So if you are an Argus fan and you want to come down to my studio, hang out here, get in the YouTube video, I'll give you the box set. It's worth about 150 quid. You can have the box set. You could walk away with it. Right, you know, you can walk away with the box set. This is just a bit out of it. You can check it out. I promise you. It'll be the best day out. Right, so I don't, you know, maybe you live locally and you're going to defend it, or maybe you want to fly in from another country. That would be even greater. It's an invitation to anybody to come over to my studio. Right, email me. You know, say you want to come over, and we'll sort it out. Because I think this is terrible. So, let's start at the beginning with Argus. Wishbone Ash. There's a band, isn't it? Can anybody name any other Wishbone Ash albums? Oh, I can't name any, right? It's only this album I've ever heard of by Wishbone Ash, but they're a massive band. Now, I have to say that I've got a friend, an incredible drummer called Joe Crabtree, and he has played drums. I don't know if he still is, I don't think he's anymore, but he used to play drums for the aforementioned Wishbone Ash. But of course there's two Wishbone Ashes, isn't there? Because you know, like when you get a wishbone and you pull it and it breaks apart and you either have the good bit or the bad bit and then you make a wish. Well, they did pull it apart, but both camps thought that they had the good bit. There was Martin Turner's Wishbone Ash and there was Andy Powell's Wishbone Ash. And when Joe Crabtree got the gig with Wishbone Ash, he invited me to a gig, which of course they played all of Argus, and I watched it. And I don't remember being horrified by it back then. I didn't go away thinking I was going to buy the album, but it didn't horrify me, which is interesting. And also, this album, when I was a kid, my best mate at school, he had a copy of this album, right? And he did play it me once, probably around about 1983, right? And I didn't think it was terrible then. And I think this is part of the answer of why when I was a kid and I heard it, I didn't think it's terrible. And why, when I heard Joe Crabtree playing it with Andy Powell's Wishbone Ash, I didn't think it's terrible. But why I think this album is terrible might give me a clue to why I thought it was terrible. So, Argus is one of those albums I've never really listened to. I know it's a classic album. It's got a brilliant cover, absolutely amazing cover. Shall we have a look at it again? There it is. It's bloody Darth Vader, isn't it? Apparently, I think that the Star Wars chaps actually modelled Darth Vader. I mean, they must have, because it looks exactly like Darth Vader, except he's got a red cape and a spear, right? Whereas Darth Vader's his lightsaber and he's got a black cape. You know, but what a brilliant cover, eh? And of course, many times I've been in a record shop over the last 40 odd years, looking at this cover thinking, shall I buy this album? Because the cover's brilliant and it's Wishbone Ash, it's early classic rock, proggy stuff. I'm going to like it, you know. Now, when I got this box set and it was worth a ton of money, I rang up a couple of my mates because I didn't want it. I said, are you Wishbone Ash fans? Because I got this box set, you could have it. They went, no. No. And I thought, well, this is strange. Who actually likes Wishbone Ash? So people must like them because it's a classic album, sold millions and all that type of thing. So I went and got the CD out of the box set and I put it in my car and I thought, I'll spend a week with it, listen to it, really study it. And it's a brilliant album, you know. Sorry, it's a really well-known album. People think it's a brilliant album. It's a classic album. I'm sure if I open myself up to it, I will be able to extract why it's so great and then come on in here and do a video where I go, Argus is an amazing album, this is why. Okay? So I put the CD on and it starts up and it's all acoustic, nice strummy guitars, and then these vocals comes in. And it's sort of like a British Crosby, Stills and Nash. And Young, if you have to have him in it. But it's got this sort of Crosby, Stills and Nash sound. And it's quite pleasant. All this is still going on. It's not that English. I thought it would be more English because they're an English band, but you can tell they're really aping a sort of American West Coast sound in there. But it's very, very pleasant. It goes on. But I'm like going, yeah, there's not much of a melody here. And the guitar chords are pretty obvious. But obviously this is going to be the opening of the album. But I'm quite enjoying this. I thought I quite like this. I actually started off like, I wasn't like after a week. I quite like this. Then the band kicks in. And this sort of rock starts up. But it's not, there's no good riffs in it. It's all sort of open chord, obvious chord progressions. And lots of guitar solos. It sounds like there's two guitarists playing all the bloody time, you know. So you got a bit of a Lynyrd Skynyrd vibe going, perhaps. But it's all like it's British in a way, but it hasn't got the English aesthetic for me. I think his guitar solos, they're banal, I have to say, really. And that's the first thing I thought, God, I could do without these guitar solos. It's like endless, mindless pentatonics played without any feel for the blues whatsoever. Open strumming chords, and you know, now I'd love to tell you the tracks individually. Do they have a track list here? Side 1, Time Was, Sometime World, Blowing Free. Now I could not tell one track from another. I couldn't tell whether it was, obviously it stopped every now and then and something else came in, but also they seemed to lurch from they'd have a section that was acoustic and then you think, well, that's finished now. And then another track would come in, but you realise it's the same track, but then they would finish, and they actually had finished. And it was all very samey. And then you got round to the other side. And the other thing is, the production, now this is the remastered version. The production is thin. It's pretty, but it's thin. The drums are thin. And as the album, I don't know if this was like a psychological effect, but as the album went on, it seemed to sound worse and worse. And by the time you get to their big epic, which sounds like all the other tracks, it's just a bit more slower and majestic with a lot more bloody Freebird-esque guitar solos. Now, the Freebird I love by Lynyrd Skynyrd. Now, those guitar solos on there, you know, they're not the most imaginative guitar play, but they're played with gusto, and they got so. But this isn't. Now the vocals None of them are Crosby, Stills and Nash. They're probably a little bit more Neil Young, but the vocals had almost like an 80s sound to it. It was like the sort of those new romantic bands where the singers lack that sort of blues inflected pop vocal sound, and they sing in their sort of, and so they got this sort of very workmanlike vocals. The harmonies are okay, but it's the 1970s. I have to be honest. The playing's okay, it's just standard 1970s playing. The production's average, but the writing is so banal. And it's padded out with guitar solos. Now, I've got to be honest, it's Dave Gilmour, love him or hate him, but Dave Gilmour's got a touch on guitar, it's incredible. You know, so if you listen to Wish You Were Here, all those, you've got all that. If you're that type of guitar player where you've got that touch from Peter Green, Paul Kossoff, you know, I'm not saying it has to be fast and complex, but these guitar solos are just tedious. Right? They're tedious and it sounds like, you know, they've thrown anything at it, same licks over and over again. The phrases wander off into places and then they don't know where they're going with it, and it just goes on and on. Almost like it's enough for everyone to be stoned and they'd just be jamming. So it's got a little bit of that sort of Grateful Dead jam band thing about it. It's possibly a unique mixture of influences for a British band, which at the time, I think, it felt like prog, even though it wasn't, right? In that they didn't know how to write a normal song, so they use all these sort of cobbled together arrangements. Now, Black Sabbath do this. You know, they do crash change arrangements, you know, where you just like go, how are we going to get from one section to the next? You know, yes, we'd get Rick Wakeman to orchestrate some amazing musical passage that would take you from one section to the next. Black Sabbath will just go bang from one to the other. But there is a sort of nihilist, dull, you know, punch in the face that Sabbath give you, which is quite delightful. Wishbone Ash don't have that either. It's all quite chirpy. I just can't deal with open chord songs, the most obvious. And I'm not talking, I mean, your two chords, G to C. That's what you're talking, right? On every single tune, ad infinitum, extended with rock and guitar solos that just go on and on and on, right? There's some pleasant vocal parts, there's some pleasant vocal harmonies. But for me, I was quite shocked at how banal and boring. It's not Astral Weeks, it doesn't offend my ears. Now, and my daughter said this because I've been decorating my daughter's bedroom this week. So she's been with me as we go to B&Q and get glue or no nails, or I've got to like buy more bin bags or more paint, you know. So I've been going backwards and forwards, and then we had to go to Dunelm and buy like, you know, duvet covers and pillows. It's her birthday, you see. Grace is 17 this week, so I said I'd do a room up for her, and it became a little bit of a project for me, and I was really working on it. So we were doing loads of driving around, getting stuff coming back. And I said to Grace, I said, you've got to let me listen to this album, because this album is a really famous album. It's a classic album, and I'm going to do a review from it. So she's doing exactly, listening to it. And halfway through, she's listening to it, but about halfway through, I say when we get to side 2, we drive along and she goes, God, Dad, why do we have to listen to this? It's so boring. Now, Grace sits and listens to me. She'll put on Earth, Wind and Fire, or she'll put on Billie Holiday, or she'll put on Led Zeppelin, or she'll put on Yes, or, you know, she'll put on Genesis. All that she absolutely loves it. So she's got taste in music. She knows what she's listening to. And she says, oh, it's so boring. Why are you listening to this for? Switch it off. I can't take it. And by the time we get to the end of the album, it has pummeled us into a state of absolute desperation. Now, you could see that, you know, many years ago when I did this with Astral Weeks, I just thought I'd make a little video, come in, say I think it's a pile of crap. This seemed to reach so far out into the world, right? And I didn't want to do this on this video. I didn't want to come across as so know-it-all like I did before, right? This album is a classic album. And so it sold millions of copies and people must love it. And you don't make a box set with all this in for all this money unless it's not a beloved album. So let's try and deal with this on the video, right? So why is it that this album here is a classic album? Why do I feel I need to have it in my collection? Why is it occupying in that? What year did it come out? 72. So 72, you've got 72, 73, 74. That's the high point in music for me there. That's where it is. 72 is where everybody just goes, right, whoa, you know, and this is musical rock music, not the stuff that the critics like. 72, it's not 1967. 72 is where the greatest music was made under the banner of rock music. It's 1972. That's the most innovative year there ever was. 73, once they've learnt all this stuff, they come out with the bloody masterpieces, and then by 74 they realise that they pushed it too far, they got nowhere else to go, and they all sort of start falling apart. So this is 72. So this is in that year of incredible albums coming out, absolute, like Close to the Edge coming out, things like that, you know, and yet it's still been able to climb its way up and be there as a classic album. Why? Why this one? And why is it when I heard it in 1983, I thought it was okay, not enough to buy it, but why do I hate it now? Right? Those are the two clues to, I think, why it has its success. Right, so why haven't I ever heard of other Wishbone Ash? I honestly think that this cover has played a big part in why this album's seen as a classic. Right? That there is such an iconic cover. Right? It's just wonderful. So people would have been more inclined, where you didn't know what you were buying in the old days, you go to a record shop, oh, this is Wishbone Ash that's coming, and you buy this out, okay? Now the other thing I want to know about is here on the back of here, someone's rubbed out a UFO, and it's a badly drawn UFO. There's like a UFO. So if we were to open this up like this, right? Darth Vader here, he's not really some sort of Roman soldier, you know, gazing over, you know, early Britain. He's actually looking, maybe he is, but he's also looking at a UFO. So why did they scrub that off for? So that's the most interesting thing about the album to me. I just thought I'd say that to you. That's the most interesting bit. I imagine, was it on at some point, then they removed it? You know, if they removed it, why not just get some yellow paint and paint over it? Why have they sort of tried to rub it? I don't know what the hell's going on here at all. Right, so this here, if you think about it, it's a gatefold album. So it has to be, because so you've got that vista, right? That works as a brilliant picture. That works as this is a brilliant album cover. Open it up, and what you have here, if you look, is 4 compartments here, right? You've got the text either side on it. This is perfect for rolling joints in 1972. This is the perfect vessel. You've even got little compartments that you can put stuff on. You can organise all your makings like this here. You've got this if you want to collect stuff together. Say you could, you know, do a bit of that. You get it all run in the middle, and then you can do that. This is and it'll work on a lap. Now many albums work like this, and I think Close to the Edge was very good because there was actually very little on there. But here we got certain compartments, but nothing in the working area. You see, that's free. So the working area is free. Right, but it's also, I feel, if you are rolling a joint up in 1972, this colour scheme is just perfect, you know. And I think those two things together meant that I think back in 72, this might have been a pleasant album for certain people who used to enjoy the puff of a certain type of cigarette. Right? So that's the second thing. The third thing is in 1983, right, I think that back then, yeah, we got the likes of Uli John Roth and Schenker and Eddie Van Halen, and there was a bit of a guitar thing going on. But we were still going back and listening to these 70s guitarists and thinking they were bloody genius just because they could do a guitar solo. So I wonder whether all these guitar solos were seen as amazing And as time has gone on, they don't sound so amazing anymore. They haven't held, because that really is what marks this album out. It's the two guitars, and every now and then you get a twin lead guitar, which maybe influenced Thin Lizzy, who changed their sound around about 74 to that sound. Maybe they had an influence on that. And I can hear influence on certain bands. They seem to be ahead of the curve. So I wonder whether there was a freshness about this album in 72 which grabbed the audience that now we're so removed from it, I can't hear it. It doesn't sound like great guitar playing. The songs on there this is prog for people who don't want to deal with complex information. These are basic songs, sing-along songs, pleasant, So I think when I heard it in 1983, I went, oh yeah, I quite like all the guitar playing, because I used to like any guitar playing back then. Anything that was guitar playing I'd like. As long as it had some long guitar solos on it, I liked it. That was my thing. And so I wonder whether that had an effect. And those guitarists thought they were something else, and people would go and see it live and and now we don't hear it because we've had all these great guitar players. It's well produced, but thin. The drums are thin. Maybe back in the 70s you didn't notice that so much. So maybe what I'm basically thinking is this really an album of its time, right? And it has its fan base, but it has not travelled into the future at all well. But because it doesn't fall into some of the traps that people associate with progressive rock or, sort of more outlandish heavy metal, it's been able to retain a sheen of respectability, which it actually comes out as being quite conservative mundanity. That's my take on this album. But like I said, I'm open. I'll never like it. I've given it the time, And I got this box set. And I thought I like having Argus in my collection. Stick it in the collection. Got the big box set of Argus. But now I've actually listened to the album, I really don't want it anymore. Right. So if nobody takes up my challenge to come down here and say why you love it, I won't have a go at you. I'll be going, oh yeah, I can understand. We'll have a nice chat about music and what you're into and why you like it and how you heard it and all these type of things. Well, I won't have. I'm not going to be. I'm not a nasty person in real life. I'm only a nasty person on the internet. I'll be all nice and friendly, and we'll have a nice day, and then you can have this and take it home. So whatever it costs you to get down here, unless you're flying in from somewhere, it will be worth your while, and I promise you. I might throw a few other things in for you as well. I can find in the studio a few other albums maybe to make it a nice thing. We've never done this before. This is a competition, right? I thought of doing it as a competition, but I thought, nah, let's just have someone come over here, because at least I get a video out of it. So, come over and do that. That would be nice. If nobody takes me up on the offer, or if I feel that the people who have sound like psychopaths. So if I don't really answer your email, it's because I think you're a psycho. Just remember that. So if you are a psycho, you need to try and hide that in your email so you don't come across like a nutter. But I will have people here when I do this. It won't just be me on my own. I'm not going to get murdered by one of you. I will have someone that can take care of you. Don't worry, I have thought that through. But I cannot really believe that an Argus fan has that sort of intent. Just don't believe it. Van Morrison fan, yes, without a doubt. I wouldn't do this with Van Morrison. Right? Now, I'm never going to get rid of my copy of Astral Weeks. Never. The other day I thought, shall I get rid of it? It was given to me by Robert Plant. It used to belong to Robert Plant. It's from Robert Plant's collection, and he gave it to me, and I hate it. But it's so awful that the awfulness, the way it makes me feel angry, means it has a place in my collection, because it does something for me. It annoys me. I mean, it almost makes me feel nauseous when I put it on. But Argus isn't like that. I think 2 minutes of it, and I think it's quite pleasant. It's a little bit like, what's it called? Baileys that you have at Christmas. And you drink it, that's the nicest drink I've ever had, but you can only have a little cup of it. Maybe that's what it is, small doses. I don't know. Anyway, you're just padding the video out now. Try and get up to 30 minutes. That's the trouble with you. Everyone else is trying to make their videos shorter. I've got my own channel now called Andy Edwards Clips. Go over there, and it's got short versions of everything where you don't get the waffle, right? It's just the good bits. It's better than this channel. It's doing better than this channel. People like just the good bits. It's called editing. I've discovered it, editing. I can make a video, rather than it be an hour and a half long, I just edit all the good bits and all the waffle I take out. You know, there's a lot of stuff in my video where I just go off on tangents and I'm telling you about some bloody family history thing that you don't need to know those things. That's not, you don't need to know that stuff, right? You know, the fact that my mate had a copy, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant, you know. So, you know, that's the thing. So go over to Andy Edwards Clips and go and subscribe there. That's doing very well at the moment. Yeah, so, yeah, I don't have the visceral reaction. It's just boredom and annoyance at the banality of it. It's pure, like, it's just so boring. So that has been my review of the classic album Argus by Wishbone Ash. Thank you for watching. Stick a like on, subscribe, go over to my Patreon and all sort of things like that. Go and do other stuff that will make me more money, you know, please. Anything that you can think of that will increase my earnings, do it now, or forever hold your peace.